Recent world events have my mind racing. Do I have enough supplies on hand to keep my family fed and safe in an emergency, whether it's weather or otherwise? Can we make it 30 days on what we have? According to the available statistics, approximately half of us could not go 30 days without a grocery store, and that is scary. Today, I'm going to share 4 of my top strategies to help keep us prepared in and out of the kitchen and calm my fears in uncertain times. I'm not sure if you noticed or not, but during those intro clips, some of my pantry shelves are quite bare, while others are overflowing with empty jars. This is not going to be content about canning per se, but I am going to do a lot of canning during this content while I'm talking to you about my pantry preparedness. I am not going to give you play-by-play. I'm not even going to give you the recipes to most of it because it's just some things that I'm trying out. But I do want you to know that whether or not you can at home, these same principles apply. You can go to the store and buy these same exact ingredients to put on your shelves and still have the same security that I am getting by doing it right here in my kitchen. The only difference is I'm able to control the quality going in and save a little bit of money along the way. When it comes to pantry preparedness, the number one thing that I find most important is to keep it simple. That is exactly what I try to do, ordering and buying basic ingredients to make the foods that I want at home. For example, if you like rice, you don't need to go to the store and buy a bunch of individual servings of rice packets like the Knorr sides. You can buy 25 pounds of rice and then mix your own rice sides to go along with whatever you're eating just by having a few extra basic ingredients on the shelf. You can even pre-prepare those if that's something that you like to have waiting and not put yourself in a position to be looking for those specific ingredients when the time comes. Other basics that I like to keep on hand are dry pasta, onions, tomatoes, oils and fats, potatoes, garlic, of course a ton of salt and pepper. I buy mine in 25-pound bags actually. As well as beans, which you can see here. And I love to make my own broth. We'll be doing that a little bit later in this specific content, but you can always purchase chicken stock or any other beef stock if you are not in the mood to make your own, or you can make your own from your scraps, use it instantly, or freeze it if canning isn't quite your style. I will link a very detailed pantry list that I found super helpful down below if you're curious what basics you might be missing or what you need to stock up on. But right now I want to turn to my second tip, which is focus on versatility. One of my favorite things to look for versatile options for is sugar. I used a basic sugar, put it in my blender, and turned it into powdered sugar. Now you might be saying this doesn't look quite as white as what you're used to. That's because I started off with an organic sugar that had not been bleached. So it does have a little bit more of a tint to it, but you can do this with any sugar that you have at home with a strong blender. I did throw in some potato flakes, very few, in place of a potato starch just to keep it from sticking together. But this use of sugar to make your powdered sugar, and then as you can see here, I'm mixing up brown sugar, is a really great way to go from purchasing 3 products that you might or might not have on hand when you need them to purchasing 1 product that you can get cheaply in bulk and use it in the way that you need it when the time comes. For brown sugar, you just stir in a little molasses and the sugar and mix it up in the quantity that you need. I'm going to be doing a lot of baking here coming up soon, so I made a bunch, but sometimes I just mix a cup or 2 at a time, and I don't even use my mixer when I do that. I just do it in a little bowl. Another area of my home that makes me feel prepared and I love to have a super versatile product is my cleaning products. Now, this is important for me because I am a mom of a kiddo who's had some major health issues in the past. I don't like anything around my family that isn't pet safe, kid safe, fragrance free, or free of endocrine disruptors and synthetic preservatives. For this reason, I had been making my own cleaning products, and it was kind of a pain because I was the only one that could mix them and refill them. And from time to time, I was busy doing something else and did not want to take a moment to refill. For me, this is where Branch Basics comes in as a rock star product. With 1 concentrate, you can clean everything, and 1 concentrate bottle gives you up to 13 refills. It'll fill your foaming hand wash 3 times, 3 all-purpose cleaner refills, 3 bathroom refills, 3 streak-free shine refills, as well as 1 laundry refill. But what makes it so easy is every single bottle in the starter kit has a line marked on the side of where you fill up the water and then where you fill up the concentrate to. Once you get the concentrate added, you top the rest off with water and you're good to go. Now, I want to show you exactly where I started. I cook all the time. That's nothing new for those of you who have been around here for a while. So my first mode of business was to clean a stove that had been crying for attention since I did something really greasy on the stove a couple days ago. Now, typically, I am somebody who avoids cooking greasy foods inside for this specific reason, and I was a little embarrassed to show you exactly how dirty it was to start. But I wanted to put this stuff to the test because sometimes natural cleaners do not do the best job of cleaning, and this is where I thought I could show you the best before and after. Took my stainless steel grates over to the sink and filled it full of water in order to get everything submerged. Now, as you can see, it did not take long before the absolute nastiness off my grate started to show up in the water. So I knew it was working right away. So I turned my attention back to the stovetop. Now, I sprayed this down with the all-purpose spray and I did let it set. Like I said, there was some nasty, greasy stuff on here and I knew it would need some time to penetrate and get it really clean. Now take a look up there at the back. You can see I had some burnt on stuff that comes out of like the air vent, and any grease or anything made this really nasty spot on both sides. So after a few minutes and a light scrub, it came right off. The rest of the stove ended up the same way. And I was able to take the cleaner that was left in my sink water and give the grates that I keep in the bottom of my sink a good scrub down as well, which takes one multitasking cleaner to the next level. If you're interested in trying out Branch, they do have a subscription model where you can save 10%. And once you run out, the only thing you'll need to repurchase is the concentrate, and depending on what you grab, the oxygen booster as well. If you are interested in trying out Branch Basics, make sure to head down to the link in my description and use code HometownHomestead to save 15% off your premium starter kit today. And thank you again to Branch Basics for sponsoring today's video. Another one of my favorite ways to multitask in the kitchen is to make sure that you're using your paper products in the best method possible. So we don't have to have napkins and paper towels. A paper towel will work in place of a napkin and actually absorbs way better than a napkin would if the situation were reversed. So if you have to pick one, pick paper towels. But in reality, we don't really need paper towels at all. And every once in a while, I go through this conversation with my family in an effort to get away from them. We simply haven't been able to kick the habit completely, but I'm working on getting them more toward regular hand towels as well as cloth napkins. Now, breaking into what I'm showing you right now, I am mixing up some chicken stock or making some chicken broth with leftover chicken carcasses as well as scraps from my onions, and I was out of carrot scraps, so I did throw some fresh carrots in there, or I should say not fresh because they were frozen, but that is what I'm doing. I'm mixing up some chicken stock to help those ingredients go a little bit further. Now I want to talk to you about water. This is a big one, and this is one that I struggle with all the time. If your local municipality were to be out of water or to have an emergency that would impact your ability to get water in your house, could you make it? I want to show you a trick that I have been implementing in my house for a little while right now to help increase not just the drinking water, but the gray water option. So gray water is not water that you would drink, but water that you would need to do things like flush toilets, and you could even wash hands with if you needed. It's fresh water straight out of the tap. But what I'm doing here is filling up old laundry detergent bottles, not even the detergent that I use, but detergent bottles that I've been getting from others who have already used them and are done with them. So instead of them throwing them in the recycling bin, I refill them. I try to fill them to where the soap bubbles overflow at least a little bit, and that helps to get the more of the soap residue out. And then I take them downstairs and put them on a shelf for a rainy day, in quotes, or a day when our water might go out. This actually happened probably a few months back in my local area. We had a water main break and couldn't flush toilets for over 24 hours. As a family of 7 who homeschools, that's a problem. So this is a lifesaver when it's needed. And I definitely recommend people not only stocking up on drinking water, but also gray water. And additionally, I love our Berkey filter. It takes out all of the toxins and impurities out of our water and gives us fresh, clean drinking water that they say you could even pull out of a stream if needed. So that gives me a little added security in my mind, knowing that we have something that could clean our water if we needed to. When I got my filter initially, it was the only one of its kind on the market. And now there are a few others that are a little bit less expensive. So I'll make sure to leave a link down and below to one that I would grab if I was going to grab it today. But I do think the water tastes so much better. And even my kids are kind of spoiled by it. So when we go other places, they always want the water from home. Now what I'm doing is mixing up a sourdough starter. I usually have in the past started one from scratch, but I just purchased this one from Azure Standard. I'm mixing it in with a little water and going to give it a good stir. In an emergency situation, being able to make your own bread and not rely on store-bought yeast is a really great skill to have. We're also going into the fall, and here at my house, that means more breads, soups, stews, and things of that sort. So having a loaf of sourdough and being able to whip up a super quick pizza crust or anything of that sort is a really, really huge win. My number 3 tip that I want to share today is to buy your most frequently used items in bulk. This means that you're getting enough to put away for the future as well as to use today. Not only does it add to your food security and your 30-day supply, but it also means you're locking in today's prices instead of paying the prices a year or two down the road. Foods like rice can last many, many years, and I have other content which I'll link at the end about how to properly store those foods. But when you lock in a price from today and compare it to the price for a few years down the road, you're going to be happy that you spent today's money at today's price instead of the 5 years from now money at that price. Look at it this way. Food right now is way more expensive than it was in 2020 when I first started bulk buying. Some of the items on my shelf I bought at that time. So pasta, for example, is one that we just barely ran out of. If you locked in the price of an item from 5 years ago, wouldn't you be happy that you were paying the 2020 price instead of the 2024 or almost 2025 price? I know I definitely am when I secure those savings. You can shop bulk at Sam's Club or Costco, even Amazon, but my favorite place is Azure Standard. I'm able to get organic, high-quality products delivered once a month to my local area. I'll make sure to leave that link down below if you're not familiar with that. It is a huge way to save money and cut out your grocery trips. Now, if you are not new to my channel, you will be proud to see that light up there in my third pantry. This is something that I asked about a couple weeks back, and I was able to find a motion light to go in there so it opens every time my doors come on. Also, I brought you in here because I wanted to show you that I too have store-bought canned goods. In the beginning, when I first started shopping in bulk, it was the only canned goods I had. So when it comes to food security, you need to do whatever works best for your family. My methods don't have to be your methods. I just want to share some things that are working. The idea of switching from a once-a-week grocery shop to a bulk buying, store your food at home way of life can be really overwhelming. So one important thing I want to share is that you do not need to go buy everything at one time. Slowly over time, just adding bulk of the ingredients that you're running out on is the way to go. Now, oftentimes this does require a change in the way you cook. It requires you to pull away from many processed products and get into more of the basics like flour that you're seeing me refill here, salt, sugar. I keep wheat berries, for example, as well as rice, dry beans, pastas, powdered milks, and all sorts of baking supplies like baking powder, baking soda, cornstarch, and those types of ingredients. I also stock up on many household ingredients. I keep toilet paper, of course, trash bags, laundry soap, dishwasher soap, any of the cleaners. Now, Branch has made that easier for me, but in the past, there were some basic ingredients that I needed to stock to mix my own cleaners, so I can mark that off my list now. But also think about stocking up on things like pet food, cat litter if you have an indoor cat, body wash and body care products, deodorants, diapers and wipes if you have a little one, as well as soap, shampoo, and conditioner. Now, around the house, I also like to think about safety. So I just showed you a new fire extinguisher that I added to my pantry to make sure that we have the option to stay safe in an emergency. When I was talking about emergency preparedness with my kids, my daughter brought it up that we didn't actually have one, and she got me thinking. So I went ahead and ordered a small one that is easy for myself as well as the kids to use to hang right in the pantry so we can pull it out when needed. On this specific day, I also needed to put together a new first aid kit. I keep this with me when I travel, and I was out of several of my basic ingredients. So I'm adding a few things that I think help keep me safe at home or elsewhere. Those are ice packs, the little compression ones that you don't have to freeze. We can break them anytime we're out. Since we do a lot of sports, being able to have that at hand is very, very handy. I also have some wound closures, and this would be used in an emergency in place of like stitches. They're the plastic that goes on top and then the little zip ties that you pull to close up a wound. We also like butterfly bandages as well as just traditional Band-Aids. Now, in my family, I like to buy an organic Band-Aid. This is, again, it's me. You don't have to identify with the same things that drive me crazy, but the toxins that are in things like Band-Aids being on an open wound is something that bothers me. I also like to keep a few of the basic essential oils that we use frequently around our house that deal with things like respiratory health, as well as a little ointment to put on any wound if that situation were to occur. Now, hopefully, of course, none of this is ever needed, whether it be in the home because of an emergency or if you're out on the go. But knowing that I have things to close a wound, for example, is something that just brings me a little extra peace of mind. Now, we also like to keep things on hand like lighters and candles, flashlights, and a ton of extra batteries. I also have a solar panel rechargeable power bank. So if something were to happen and we didn't have access to electricity, we could still charge our phones. Whether they would work or not would be another story based on whatever's going on in the world at that time. But that's a reason we also keep walkie-talkies so our immediate family could communicate if that need were to arise. I will make sure to put the links in the description down below for all of the products that I've mentioned along the way, as well as my favorites for things here in my first aid kit and my fire extinguisher. If you have any questions or suggestions for what I can add to my first aid and preparedness packages, make sure to leave them down below. And if you have any suggestions for those that are new to this idea, make sure to jot them down as well. I would love it if everyone walked away with at least one tip that would help them toward their food security as well as their overall preparedness. I also want to thank Branch Basics for sponsoring today's content. Don't forget to check the link in the description and use my code to save 15% off your starter kit today. And one last programming note before I go. Next week, you'll see me on Friday and not Sunday, so be looking out because I have something extra special to prepare for you as we head toward the holiday season.